Tang San continued to follow behind the master, not asking any questions, simply accompanying his teacher in silence. He could sense the complex emotions the master was experiencing at this moment. At this time, it seemed best to let his teacher have some peace. As they entered the forest, the temperature noticeably dropped a few degrees. The refreshing air invigorated the master, and even his mood seemed to lighten a bit. Stopping in his tracks, the master turned to Tang San and said softly, "Xiao San, you must be wondering what exactly the relationship between Erlong and me is, why it has come to this, and why I have avoided her for 20 years. Tang San nodded. The master sighed, Let me tell you a story. More than 20 years ago, a young man from a prestigious family was ostracized by his clan because his martial soul mutated, preventing him from inheriting the clan's martial soul legacy. To prove himself, he studied the art of being a soul master intensely, delving into deeper theories, hoping that one day he could gain recognition through his knowledge. During his travels, he met a young soul master who shared his ideals, and the two decided to venture into the soul master world together. One day, while hunting soul beasts in a forest, they encountered a beautiful girl. She was alone, and her lively and cheerful personality quickly drew the two young men to her. The three became good friends, and the originally two-man team grew to include the girl. Over time, both young men developed feelings for the girl with the fire dragon martial soul. However, because of their brotherly bond, neither of them was willing to confess. Especially the young man whose martial soul mutation made him weak, who buried his love deep in his heart. By chance, the three discovered that they could perform a powerful martial soul fusion skill together. Using their combined strength, they gradually earned the name of the Golden Iron Triangle in the Soul Master world. At this point, the master sighed again. Feelings can accumulate over time, and the deeper they are hidden, sometimes the stronger they become. As the three of them grew older, their bonds deepened. Finally, one day, the stronger young man couldn't hold back his feelings any longer and confessed to the girl. To their great surprise, the girl, who had always known that both young men liked her, finally revealed her choice. She feared that her choice would hurt the other, but facing the strong young man's confession, she could no longer hide it. She called the two young men together and told them that she liked the one with a mutated martial soul and great theoretical knowledge, despite his lack of power. You've probably guessed by now that the girl was Erlong, and the two young men were Flender and me. I still remember Flender's look of extreme disappointment and the sound of my own racing heartbeat. At that moment, I felt an unprecedented happiness. But neither Erlong nor I wanted to hurt Flender, and for a time, there was a heavy silence among the three of us. After a few days of this oppressive atmosphere, Flender finally stepped forward. He, being the eldest among us, proposed that we become sworn brothers, with Erlong as his sister-in-law. Tang Sen couldn't help but say, Dean Flender is truly a good person. Perhaps this was the best outcome. The master nodded. I will never forget Flender's words. He said he had already lost the woman he loved and did not want to lose his brother and sister as well. He sincerely blessed us. Tang San asked puzzledly, if that's the case, you and Aunt Erlong should have been able to be together. Why then? The master smiled bitterly. If everything had gone smoothly and the later events hadn't happened, perhaps our children would be older than you by now. But as if it were fate's cruel joke, everything was ruined. That night, I remember the stars were particularly bright. Flender officiated our wedding, and Erlong and I finally became husband and wife. Although we had nothing at the time, no blessings from family and friends, no grand wedding ceremony, we were immensely happy. Just being with the one you love is enough. Just as the three of us had finished drinking and Flender was about to leave to venture out on his own, a few people suddenly arrived. Among them was someone I knew very well. It was my uncle, Yu Luomien, the current second patriarch of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan. His arrival surprised me greatly. But since it was my wedding day and the visitors were relatives, and my relationship with this uncle was okay, I happily invited them into our new home. At this point, the master's emotions became noticeably agitated. But who could have guessed that my uncle's purpose wasn't to visit me? His target was Erlong. What? Why? Tang San asked in surprise. The master continued, before our marriage, neither Erlong, Flender, nor I had ever asked about each other's backgrounds. It was personal privacy. I didn't mention mine because I was rejected by my family. Flender was from a poor background, and Erlong had never brought it up herself. My uncle's purpose was to recognize Erlong as his daughter. Erlong turned out to be his illegitimate daughter. Tang San's eyes widened in shock. Fate was truly cruel. No wonder the master chose to leave. All this was so unfair to him. When Erlong heard me call my uncle second uncle, her face turned pale. When I asked her incredulously, her nodding in confirmation felt like a thunderbolt to me. I couldn't believe the woman I deeply loved was my cousin. Tears flowed uncontrollably down the master's face. Even though 20 years had passed, those scenes remained etched in his memory. The joy of uniting with a loved one turned to immense sorrow. Such pain was unimaginable. Choking with emotion, the master's eyes grew distant. At that moment, when my uncle saw our wedding attire, he immediately understood what had happened. His first words were, "How can you marry this trash?" Until then, I always thought he treated me well, unlike others in the family. But at that moment, I realized I was wrong. He also saw me as trash. Later, I found out that Erlong was born to my uncle and a woman of ill repute. Because of her mother's background, my uncle didn't dare to bring her home. When Erlong was traveling, her mother had already died of illness. My uncle raised her secretly and even had her take her mother's surname. The name Erlong was given to her by her mother, in honor of my uncle. Wait, teacher, if Erlong was your cousin, her martial soul should be the same as your clan's, the blue lightning tyrant dragon. Could it be that Erlong's martial soul also? The master nodded. Yes, Erlong's martial soul was also mutated. However, unlike mine, which became weak, her mutation didn't weaken her. Although it didn't become stronger, it still remained a powerful martial soul. The lightning mutated into fire, which is the origin of her fire dragon martial soul. Our tragedy was caused by such coincidental circumstances. At that time, I ran out like a madman. All I could think of was dying. Erlong wanted to chase after me, but my uncle forcibly held her back. If it weren't for Flender stopping me from committing suicide, there wouldn't be the master you know today. Tang San didn't say anything further. He was now immersed in the master's world of sorrow. Unbeknownst to them, not far behind, another person stood, also in tears, watching them intently. What could I do? Although I gave up on the idea of suicide, Erlong was my everything. As you can see, I'm not handsome and lack great power. But she chose me over the much more capable Flender. I loved her deeply, yet she turned out to be my cousin. The pain of that realization is unimaginable. Finally, in utter despair, I could only choose to escape. I didn't let Flender come with me. I left quietly on my own. Later, Flender sent word that Erlong and my uncle had a falling out after returning to the clan, and she went crazy trying to find me. I wanted to see her so much, but I couldn't. I couldn't ruin her reputation. Your brother and sister being together is something society can't accept. Even if I didn't care, how could I let Erlong, a woman, bear that? And my uncle was right. I was just a useless waste. Even if Erlong stayed with me, I couldn't protect her. She never should have been with me. Year after year passed, and I didn't even dare to inquire about Erlong's situation, because I feared I wouldn't be able to resist going to her. In my confusion, I poured all my energy into studying martial spirits. It wasn't until I met you that I found new life in my heart, investing my spirit in you. These years have been somewhat bearable because of that. I know Flender must have known Erlong was here. he's not a reckless person. If he didn't know beforehand, why would he choose another academy right after the incident at Heaven Do Imperial Academy? I just didn't think much about it at the time. Seeing Erlong again only brings more pain. Her strength far surpasses mine. This time, even if I want to escape this painful whirlpool, it might be impossible. Tang San looked at the master, his eyes already somewhat moist. Yes, heaven has been so unfair to the teacher. It deprived him of the powerful martial spirit he should have inherited and even ruined his union with his beloved. A teacher, are the eyes of the world really that important? Who says you're useless? In my heart, you are the most powerful soul master. Knowledge is also a form of strength. Who dares to claim their understanding of martial spirits surpasses yours? No one can. Teacher, you are the best. Aunt Erlong has waited for you all these years and hasn't chosen anyone else. How deeply she must love you. If you keep avoiding this, it will only bring pain to both of you. Even if you care about the world's views, you could take her and leave. The master shook his head painfully. No, that would be too unfair to Erlong. Xiao San, loving someone doesn't always mean possessing them. I want her to live happily and joyfully. At this moment, Tang San forgot about his identity as a student. Seeing the master's depression, he couldn't help but say, Do you think avoiding her will make Aunt Erlong happy? If she were happy, would she sing such sorrowful songs? Would she cry at the sight of you? She's afraid of even probing with words, fearing it would hurt you. Teacher, your heart is too fragile. What's there to fear about the world's opinions? Aunt Erlong, a woman, isn't afraid, so why are you? You should face this bravely with her, breaking all barriers to be together. Prove to your family and everyone else that there's nothing wrong with being together. Cousins' blood ties are close, but are there no such unions? Teacher, you're not just afraid Aunt Erlong will suffer with you, you also can't face this reality. You're feeling inferior. The master stared at Tang San, his lips trembling but unable to speak. Though he and Flender were proud, the master, with his inferior martial spirit, had always felt inferior deep down. Neither Flender nor Erlong dared to touch on his pain, but Tang San's emotional outburst hit the mark. He's right. Why should you feel inferior? So what if thousands call you useless? As long as I, Lu Erlong, think you're the best, that's enough. Xiao Gang, don't you understand? If I cared about our relationship, would I have kept looking for you? Would I be in such pain? Lu Erlong emerged slowly from behind Tang San and the master, tears streaming down her face. She stepped closer, her gaze unwavering, her beauty radiant. This time, the master finally didn't avoid Lu Erlong's gaze. As she approached, his heart raced. The emotional barriers that had been building for 20 years began to crumble under the overwhelming force of his feelings. Tang San quietly retreated into the forest, knowing that no one should disturb them now. He silently wished the master well. He had always noticed the teacher's frequent expressions of loneliness. Now, the root cause was found. If it could be resolved, bringing the master and Lu Erlong together would be the best outcome for both. The forest was dark and quiet. Tang San didn't hurry back but walked silently, thinking about the master's and Lu Erlong's story, which reminded him of Xiao Wu. His mindset wasn't that of a 13-year-old, but of a middle-aged man. Xiao Wu was also his sister. What place did she hold in his heart? For the first time since knowing Xiao Wu, Tang San pondered this deeply. If the master's and Lu Erlong's situation happened to him and Xiao Wu, what would he do? Tang San felt confused and uncertain. Suddenly, the surrounding air felt cold. Tang San shivered and frowned. His soul power had reached level 30, and he had cultivated his mysterious heaven skill to the 4th level, making him immune to cold and heat. Besides, it was summer. Why was he feeling cold? At that moment, Tang San suddenly stopped in shock. 3 meters in front of him stood a person, all in green. Green hair, green eyes, green nails, and an icy, evil gaze like a venomous snake. This sudden figure was none other than the title Doluo with the poison title, Dugubo, whom Tang San had seen during the day. Almost instinctively, Tang San wanted to activate his martial spirit, but Dugubo was already in front of him. Without even moving, Tang San felt dizzy and blacked out. The slight soul power fluctuation alarmed Lu Erlong, who had just embraced the master. Who's there?" Lu Erlong's eyes shone brightly as she sprang up from the master's arms, looking towards the source of the soul power fluctuation. She sensed the terrifying aura hidden within the weak fluctuation, and in a flash, she shielded the master. The master was stunned at first, then his face changed drastically. This is bad. Something might have happened to Xiao San. Let's check it out." Lu Erlong naturally grabbed the master's hand and sped up, quickly reaching the spot where the incident occurred. Apart from the lingering coldness, they found no clues. Lu Erlong used her soul power to search, but she couldn't find any trace of Tang San. The master quickly decided, let's go back and find Flender. This cold aura feels familiar. If it's that person, it could be troublesome. Though his strength wasn't great, the master's observation and judgment were far superior to ordinary people. The cold aura reminded him of Dugubo, whom he had seen at Heaven Do Imperial Academy, and later Dugu Yen, the Jade Phosphor Serpent Soul Master. When Tang San woke up from his fainting, he found himself surrounded by darkness. 2 green lights shone eerily in the dark. Using his mysterious heaven skill, Tang San gathered his soul power, regaining his strength. He didn't move, remembering the master's teaching. The more dangerous the situation, the calmer one must be. Reckless actions could lead to disaster. Awake. No need to pretend. Are you really only 13? You act like an old hand, came a hoarse voice from beside him. As his eyes adjusted, Tang San saw that the green lights were Dugubo's eyes. Tang San sat up without speaking, coldly staring at Dugubo, his heart filled with ice. He knew why Dugubo had captured him: revenge for Dugu Yen. What good could come from being in the hands of the poison Doluo? "A kid, your name is Tang San?" Dugubo leaned against the stone wall, asking calmly. Yes, Tang San answered simply. He didn't want to wait for death, so he quietly gathered his soul power. Even though he knew his over 30-level soul power was nothing against a 90-level title Doluo, he wouldn't give up without a fight. Dugubo's green eyes flickered. I heard you broke my granddaughter's 3rd soul skill and used poison to subdue her. How did you neutralize her snake venom? Strong liquor alone wouldn't suffice. Tang San replied indifferently, "Do you call yourself the poison Doluo, but you don't know that realgar neutralizes snake venom? Realgar mixed with strong liquor fully activates its properties, and combined with flame, it's enough to counter her 3rd soul skill. Her poison isn't that unbeatable." Dugubo laughed harshly. How many years has it been since someone dared to speak to me like this? Boy, aren't you afraid of death? Daring to question my poison? Do you know that even other title Doluo dread my poison? Tang San snorted disdainfully. Your poison? It's trash. What did you say? Dugubo's eyes flared green. With a slight movement, Tang San was slammed against the wall by an irresistible force, almost losing consciousness from the intense pain. Kid, if you dare to argue with me again, I will kill you on the spot, even if your poison intrigues me. You say my poison is garbage? I can wipe out all life within a kilometer instantly. To kill you, I wouldn't even need to lift a finger. You'd die from the poison directly. Among poison soul masters, there has never been anyone stronger than me. How dare you doubt my poison? Tang San struggled to stand up, enduring excruciating pain, and straightened his back. Do I need to argue with you? What would be the point? Your poison is indeed powerful, but it's still garbage. Poison is meant to harm enemies, but you are already poisoned yourself. Isn't that proof your poison is garbage? Dugubo was stunned for a moment and waved his right hand. Suddenly, a ring of emerald green flames ignited around the cave. Under the green fire's light, Tang San could see he was in a cave roughly 1,000 square meters in size. Dugubo, dressed as he had been during the day, stood 10 meters away from him. What a joke. My poison affects me? I'm 78 years old and have only ever poisoned others. No one has ever poisoned me, Dugubo said coldly, looking at Tang San. Strangely, he didn't attack him this time. Tang San sneered, Is that so? Then let me ask you. When it's overcast or rainy, do you feel a tingling itch in your ribs that gradually intensifies? It happens twice a day, at noon and midnight, lasting over an hour each time. Also, around midnight, do you feel a stabbing pain in your head and heart, causing full-body convulsions for at least half an hour? If these symptoms aren't due to poison, what else could it be? You've been poisoned down to your bone marrow. I'm just amazed you're not dead yet. The poison you have can't be suppressed by soul power. How do you know? Dugubo could no longer contain his astonishment and blurted out. Tang San's description was so accurate it was as if he had witnessed it himself. This was Dugubo's greatest secret, one even his closest granddaughter didn't know. Hearing it from Tang San's mouth was shocking. His eyes filled with killing intent, a cold murderous aura that seemed to pierce through Tang San. The power of a title Doluo was overwhelming. The killing intent emanating from Dugubo hit Tang San's chest like a physical force, making him vomit blood and stumble back 3 steps before he could steady himself. Under the pressure of Dugubo's killing intent, Tang San's blue-silver grass suddenly activated. Even his external spirit bone, the 8 spider lances, extended from his back, exuding a fierce aura to protect him. Interesting, Dugubo remarked, calming down. He had thought that with his almost tangible killing intent, killing a mere 30-something level soul master would be easy. He had killed countless people before. But he hadn't expected Tang San to withstand his killing intent, though he vomited blood. Such physical resilience was not something a soul master at Tang San's level should have. Let me see. Is this the spirit that injured my granddaughter? Dugubo flashed to Tang San and reached out to grab him. The blue-silver grass moved on its own, Tang San's first spirit ring shining brightly as he activated his first spirit ring skill, binding. The resilient blue-silver grass wrapped around Dugubo's body almost instantly. But a terrifying scene unfolded. The blue-silver grass, once touching Dugubo, melted away like snow on fire. Yes, melted. Like snow falling on a flame, it disappeared without any pause, not even slowing Dugubo's raised hand. The next moment, Dugubo's hand was on Tang San's shoulder. Dugubo's grip was like an iron clamp. Instinctively, the 8 spider lances on Tang San's back thrust forward with a sharp whoosh, their deadly poison fully activated. Dugubo was surprised. His body didn't need to be touched. His energy reaction already sensed the strength of the 8 spider lances' attack, far stronger than the blue-silver grass. Green light spread from Dugubo's body. The 8 spider lances hit the green light, causing ripples but unable to penetrate it. So that's it. External spirit bone. No wonder Yen couldn't beat you, Dugubo said, his eyes showing a greedy glint as he looked at Tang San's 8 spider lances. A chilling soul power flowed from Dugubo's hand into Tang San's body, paralyzing him and rendering his soul power useless. The icy stream traveled through Tang San's body, making him feel as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. Despite his extraordinary talent and strength, in the face of such an overwhelming power difference, he was utterly powerless. In Dugubo's soul power, he couldn't even move a finger. Dugubo casually threw Tang San to the ground, disappointed. What a pity, it's already fused. Otherwise, this kid would have been a great gift. Dugubo's eyes shone with a greedy light as he stared at Tang San, as if looking at a rare treasure. I have to admit, you're stronger than my granddaughter, even stronger than that kid Yu Tianheng. 13 years old, over 30 levels of soul power, external spirit bone, and poison. Such a pity. Despite the vast power gap, Dugubo didn't seal Tang San's soul power. Tang San struggled to stand up again, coldly saying, I didn't expect to die at the hands of an old monster using garbage poison. What a pity. Dugubo's eyes flashed with a snake-like cold light. Do you want me to kill you now? Killing you is as easy as crushing an ant. But I won't be in a hurry. The soul bone from the man-faced demon spider is interesting. I'll extract all the poison from your soul bone before killing you. Tang San's eyes showed a strong unwillingness. He knew that even his newly made hidden weapons wouldn't stand a chance against this old monster. Against such an opponent, unless he mastered the top 3 hidden weapons of Tang's sect, the outcome would be death. He was unwilling to die without mastering all of Tang's sect's skills, without refining Tang's sect's poison in this world, and without training his second spirit. He had too many attachments to this rich and vibrant world, even more than to Tang's sect. Seeing the unwillingness in Tang San's eyes, Dugubo laughed heartily. Unwilling? I've seen that look in countless eyes. I love crushing that unwillingness. Given a few decades, you might surpass me. But now, you have no chance. Didn't you call my poison garbage? Yet you'll still die by my hand. Tang San calmly said, that's my greatest unwillingness. Given time, I could kill you without using my spirit. Your garbage poison is worthless. It not only turns you into a monster, but also harms your descendants. It's the garbage of all garbage. What did you say? Dugubo's emotion surged, and he extended his arm, grabbing Tang San's neck and pulling him close. This time, Tang San didn't resist, only coldly looking at Dugubo. Despite the difficulty in breathing, he managed to say, do you think you'll have a good end? Your symptoms will worsen. Though I don't know how you suppress the poison, it's probably some rare treasure. But it won't help you forever. In a few years, if the poison doesn't kill you, the pain will. You'll die more miserably than me. Dugubo's eyes flickered with uncertainty. What Tang San said was his greatest torment. Behind his immense power, he suffered unimaginable pain. Each bout of pain was unbearable.